Now it is my great pleasure to present our keynote speaker, Professor Jan Jonker, who is a renowned expert in sustainable entrepreneurship, business modeling, and transition. His research focuses on sustainability, circularity, and how new business models might foster transition. Jan Jonker served as a professor at Nijmegen. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Jan. I tried to Google this yesterday or find out how to pronounce this, but he's the School of Management at Radboud University in the Netherlands. For over 30 years, retiring in spring of 2021. Among his various roles, he had held a position as director of the PhD school of his faculty for over 10 years. Jonker has also held prestigious positions at the Académie de Toulouse in France and the Free University in Brussels, Belgium. He founded the New Business Model Conference in 2016 during the visiting professorship at Pierre de Fermat Chair at the Toulouse Business School in France. His work has earned him recognition as an academic activist aiming to create impactful change with a large group of participants. Throughout his career, Jonker has authored over 35 books and 250 publications. Most recently, he developed WE Economy Transition Canvas with over 100 practitioners. In November, his final book entitled Transition of Meaning, Working Towards a New Social Contract will be published. Jan Jonker has been listed among the top 100 most influential green Dutch people for 7 consecutive years and was decorated the Green Ribbon in 2016 for his contributions to sustainability. He has also received a knighthood from the King of the Netherlands for his non-academic work regarding popularizing sustainability. In addition to his academic achievements, Jonker continues to provide consultancy and remains an active international speaker. He enjoys cooking, buying wine, and restoring his 16th century house in south of France. Thank you very much. So I just join me on the stage, Professor Jan Jonker.
Good morning, everybody. I must admit I didn't sleep too well. I had to pinch myself several times tonight, not only for the light, but simply because it is quite amazing to be here after 10 years and 10 times such an adventure. So I feel very honored to be with you today, Madam President, Mr. Dean, Monsieur le Recteur, why not speak some other languages since I don't speak Icelandic, colleagues, PhD students, and over the years, friends. It is a great honor that I was invited, I think, by Christmas, I've forgotten, but somewhere around Christmas, to do the keynote. You could say that's a logical thing to invite you for a keynote, but still, you need to be invited. Don't get me wrong. So, we started this conference 10 years ago as what I would now see as a gig. An almost naive idea to organize something international around business models in Toulouse. And as you can see today, it has grown and matured into a vast community of people working around the same theme. This is the opening slide exactly 10 years ago, almost exactly 10 years ago. It's a lousy picture, I fully agree, but it gives the atmosphere as we opened the day in Toulouse. Let me take you back a little bit across time and show you how all this was developed. The money to organize the first conference was due to a grant I was given by the French government. They gave a grant to a Dutchman becoming professor in France. It's almost unheard of. And one of the obligations was to organize something international. That for French people is very complicated because most of the French people, despite all the sympathy I have for them, they don't speak English. So let me allow to organize something in English. This conference idea popped up because I organized 2 international workshops on business modeling, and then we said over coffee, probably stupid as we were, let's organize a conference. Let's do so. And this is how it looked, the first conference. We had probably 65 participants. We didn't take notes, so I don't remember. We had some nationalities. We had probably 25, 30 presentations. But the most important thing is we had a lot of fun. We had fantastic dinners. We had barbecues. There was wine for lunch. You can imagine people wanted to come back. So I don't remember anything about the conference itself, but it was a good start, as you can see. So honestly, how good can you start organizing things? And we organized things in an institute that had no international experience. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to register people. We didn't have software. And even until today, they didn't account for how much money we spent. So in itself, it was quite nice. It turned out right. And until today, I am indebted to Niels Faber, sitting here in front and still being member of the board, who came to Toulouse to help me out to get it organized, because with all due respect for the French people, organizing a conference and French people, that doesn't always go well to start. But it started in a very simple way, and it was the best basis we could have created. Today, I would like to go a little bit back in time and show you very quickly where we all went, then make up a kind of where do we stand balance, and spend most of the time of, okay, this is what we have created together, this is the community we have created together, and how do we move from here? After Toulouse, we went to Graz, to the Austrians, and it's a pity Romana Rauter isn't there, but okay, that happens. And of course it was Austria, so it got organized. Don't get me wrong. You know that every baby in Austria gets a toothbrush to brush the streets the moment they can walk. I mean, that's Austria. So for the first time, it was serious stuff. And we were a little bit surprised how well you could organize something. But it was okay, and people understood this because all of a sudden we doubled participants, we had more presentations. Okay, the site visit went wrong, but why not? Things go wrong, that's not the problem. Then we went to Sofia, and Professor Nikolai Denchev, who was in the audience, organized, he's there at the right, he organized in this massive university, you know, where you can fit 6,000 people in one room. So we, the modest conference, were there. But once more time, it was a decent conference. From Sofia, we went to Berlin. And of course, by then we knew the drill. And Professor Florian Lüdecke-Freund, a German, you get the drill. It was well organized, except for the dinner. We had to walk for 3 hours, and the dinner was cold, but it was all very good. The drinks were very good on the boat, and the dinner, we won't no longer talk about it. Then something happened. We, Niels and I, we were responsible for the 5th edition, and for us it was a great pleasure, of course. We were surprised we already had a 5th edition. So we started organizing 9 months in advance, which is a normal period. And the team was ready. We rented a complete hotel. We rented something like 60 hotel rooms. We had the dinner in the oldest castle of Nijmegen. It was, I would say, perfect. It was perfect. And then shit hit the fan. It's called COVID. One day, the Prime Minister, who is now also talking in The Hague, said, no public events anymore of any people. And all of a sudden, our full construction of a conference with over 300 participants went down the drain. And overnight, this is what we became. We became people in a studio with a technical team, with all you see is artificial, with people worked day and night. We all of a sudden had 12 technicians, and we had our secret weapon, Geanne van Arkel. Unfortunately, she died. She worked for 24 hours to talk to people around the world. If you are presenting, please do not show your laundry. Or don't slurp on your coffee. Or check the sound. And this is her working room. She did a fantastic job. She did 10 or 12 computers at the same time. This was the heart of the conference. This is how the conference looked backstage. And this is how, for the participants, the conference looked. On the left side, you see the opening scene was the rector of the university and the dean of the city. And I don't recall, and I asked Niels also if he remembered anything about the conference. We don't recall anything. We were just dead. But it went fantastic, and it had, until today, the most participants ever of a conference. So yeah, even if you do something wrong, you do something right, or you turn it upside down. So we were very pleased, and then, of course, from then on, we had a secret additional weapon. We moved to Halmstad, to Maya, and all of a sudden, we had a hybrid conference. We hadn't invented that word before, but all of a sudden, it became hybrid. And people were from around the world participating. So instead of only being a European activity, we became truly international because people could join, and we had the knowledge. And Maya did something else. She also created the PhD school, which we had the 5th edition of yesterday, which is a remarkable achievement that now we have a sideline, a full day, in which we talk to PhDs from around the world, and one more time in a hybrid manner, which is great. So we have a hybrid PhD school. It's a pity I'm no longer director of the school. As you can see, it's stable. Then we moved to Rome. One of the highlights of Rome was dining in the garden of the Pope. I mean, it was very exclusive, and here you see the people going down into the garden. I won't recall all the details, but it was fantastic. The conference was great. The time was fantastic. Italy, the food was great. But there also was this, I don't know, it was good. Then we moved to Maastricht, where Abel is working. This is the group in Maastricht, and as you can see, it was a very successful conference with 330 participants and 156 presentations. And finally, last year, we went to San Sebastian in Spain, and I'm very pleased there is such a, how do you say, massive Spanish delegation today to be with us. One more time, very successful, many nationalities. And in San Sebastian, the central remark was, maybe we should, from being busy with doing research, move a little bit more into, let's call it, action. Let's try to see how we move into action. Today we are here in Reykjavík. I don't have any pictures for the moment. Probably we will have thousands of pictures afterwards. And despite that the distance compared to other sites is a little bit bigger, we are still here with enough participants physically and online. So I think it's a great success for this 10th edition. We have done, I think, together very well. Now the question then, of course, is 10 years of organizing, 10 years of sleepless nights, 10 years of harassing deans to put facilities for free at a conference, and all that comes with it. Where do we stand in what we do? First of all, I think, and it can't be said enough, this conference is not a commercial endeavor. It is an endeavor organized by people doing this in their free time, and even at the university, they don't get very often time to do this. They do it on the side while it is a massive thing. So I think the people and the teams behind those people, they can't be thanked enough. Let me name them one by name. It's Niels, it's Romana, it's Nicolai, it's Florian, it's Maya, it's Laura, Abel, Dorleta, Lara, and all the others that make this happen. And I like to have your warm applause for these people. Now, if we look at the facts, and I only have one slide, even for an academic, that's very little. If we look at the slides, you could say that after Nijmegen, we knew the drill, more or less. We started to organize in a professional manner. We had the software in place. We knew how to do this, because it takes time. It takes time and again, because you have this desire to do this international conference, and then you come to your university, and the university say yes, but they mean nya. Nya means no, but we say yes. That's basically how it works. You like to have rooms. Oh, you have to pay for them. But we don't have money. Yeah, that's not going to work that way, etc., etc. So you organize, it sounds a little harsh, but you organize in a hostile environment. Because people want to do their thing, and at the end of June, it's holiday time, and then you get this international conference, and we had accounting principles, and how is it going to work? This is the battle you have to fight for 9 months, the day until the conference, and you get sometimes very disappointed by everything you have to conquer. So it is quite a struggle, but despite the struggle, we have reached quite some things. We have a vibrant community, a really vibrant community. We have a warm-hearted reputation. We are not a chilly academic conference. We are here to meet, to see friends, to talk. We have decent procedures in place. We know what we're talking about. We have a smooth running infrastructure as a conference that can be used time and again. And we have a revolving board assuring continuity. So basically, for the next 10 years, we've done well. What we haven't done is that if you look at the number of participants over the 10 years, say 2,500, it's difficult to count, and you can have an academic discussion about counting. We have, I think, not used enough our social and intellectual capacity. We have this community, but we leave in 2 days' time, and then we all go back to our places, seats, chairs, whatever. I think we also miss on collaborative projects. It's more and more difficult to get funding in Europe. That's a central tendency over the last 10 years, last 5 years. If you want to develop a project, don't discuss anything below 5 million, but start basically at 10 million, then it becomes serious. And we do not use our capacity to say, hey, let's create a network around SDG 17 because we have the capacity. We don't use in other words, our social capital. We do not develop enough collaborative projects. It means that basically we are missing chances for funding, and all of us, many of us, spend quite some serious time to get funding. This is a horrible thing these days in academia, or these days it's a horrible thing in academia. You spend more and more time in funding. So what if we would collaborate in getting funding together on smart projects? That might be a relief of a big burden. It's amazing to see that now we have 5 years a PhD school. Why don't we have our own PhDs as the NBM network? I mean, 30 PhDs yesterday, almost in the room, means we have quite the capacity to supervise PhDs. We could extend the school. We could provide a little bit more guidance. We could provide a little bit more support when it comes to creating such a school. We do not use that capacity. And finally, I think we also have a voice to raise in Europe, meaning that we can have more to say when it comes, for example, European development programs, and we are not using that occasion again. All in all, we have work to do. So let's take a little look into the future. Without any doubt, we have arrived in transitional times. As I speak, all of you know that we also have this massive conference in the Netherlands, where 50% of all policemen are now in one spot. If I would be a villain, it would be an interesting time. But let's put that aside. I don't know if you have seen the movie, I call it a movie, of the King of the Netherlands shaking the hand of the President of the United States last night at the gala dinner and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of theater. But okay, it's happening at the same time. So we are very pleased that we are the second important conference. Huh? I think that we have time for serious stuff. But anyway, we live in a very, what is called VUCA world. We live in a world where there's an incredible amount of uncertainty of things that are happening, volatility, and what have you. We are engaged researchers. We are not just people doing our job and giving a course on methodology. We are engaged researchers. That is why we are here. That's why we travel the world. So maybe because this is the world we live in and it will not go away, we have to accept that in this world things will change and that we will in one way or the other have to contribute to that change. And of course, since I'm slightly older, I take a quote from the past because it's still absolutely, totally relevant. This is the world we face. We have 4 interlinked problems that will not go away. It's called sustainability, it's called circularity, it's called biodiversity, and it's called livability. And the essence of these 4 central themes is they will be our compass for the next 10 years. We need to work in everything we do on improving, in changing, in transitioning, in whatever the word is you want to use, in these 4 fields. This is what we are doing. This is what we should do in our own work and in our teaching. If we then look at this world, it looks as if sustainability is out, that the SDGs go to the trash, with all due respect, because the idea is excellent, but we do not talk about sustainability anymore. Or if you talk to circularity, people will say, circularity, what are you talking about? So let's accept that sustainability and circularity are out as a term, not as a challenge. And let's try to imagine that we have a different perspective. Let's introduce some keywords for shaping tomorrow, and then if I had to choose those words, I think the words for the next 10 years are creating resilience, be it local, be it between communities, in communities. It is value preservation. What we use, we should use better, longer, and smarter. Some people will recognize my definition of circularity, but you can forget it. Yeah? Call it value preservation, designing and using for value preservation. And I think we should also use the word self-sufficiency, not self-arrogance or anything, but self-sufficiency means how can we create a society that has more resources created for and by themselves. Well, if I need to give an example, why don't we have everywhere circular water? While water becomes a scarce commodity, why aren't we developing serious programs on water circularity on a regional basis? I know it's quite a debate, but anyway. And then I like to add a word which is called synchronicity. We should not or no longer discuss issues one by saying it should be about energy and then everybody goes towards energy. Oh, have we forgotten eco-diversity or whatever? No, it should be done at the same time, and that's the biggest challenge. It means that our perspective purely from focusing on organizations should change to what I call organizational ecology. And organizational ecology is not organizations working together. It is the fact that citizens, together with organizations, together with governments, try to find solutions for regional and local problems. So it's the organizing capacity of different constituents that might be alien up till now, not necessarily, but who then will make smart or innovative or intelligent combinations between big and small, tiny and massive, between governments and local initiatives in a professional manner. That means that we are moving towards what I call a multi-level transition landscape. Sorry for the academic words, but sorry, I'm an academic sometimes. And it means that we have to think in our minds about business modeling on 3 different levels. 1, organizational hubs between civilians, business, and governments. Call it the smallest possible. You all get the slides afterwards. You look like students taking pictures all the time. You get the slides for free. I'm standing here for free as well. It's open access. Sorry. Second, and that is maybe the most important part, because there are many things happening on that local level, but we still can stimulate. We need to think about an institutional environment that enables such a way of organizing, and most of the time that's where it goes wrong. Not because government, not because people want to block these developments, but simply because we invented rules in the 30s and in the 50s and in the 70s that do not fit in this way of organizing. So we have to create a facilitating, or call it an accommodating, institutional environment. And maybe that is the biggest transition we have to face, because I've tried to develop a national program on sustainable accounting. And, well, I'm not an accountant. I come from an accountant family. And, of course, the accountants didn't want to work with an ordinary professor on accounting because he was not an accountant. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Now, there's some readiness to do so, but developing this institutional environment is quite a job, because government, or whatever you call it, institutions have to talk with civilians and business to say, how do we create that environment? And finally, I think we have to look at ourselves and to look at our mentality. That's a mentality of, I can consume whatever I want at any possible moment, and we all of a sudden start to live in a period of scarcity where water out of the tap is no longer self-evident. So all of a sudden, and in a country like mine in Holland, where water was the basics of life, now all of a sudden you build a house and you might have to wait for 6 months to get water in your house, in Holland. Just imagine, and all this happened in the last 3 or 4 years. In other words, there's also a big change in our mind by saying, what is we call it the landscape, what are the values we embrace for the next years to make this happen? So it's a threefold approach, creating change. We need to find ways to organize this. And it doesn't mean we need to create organizations, we need to create something else. And I call it organizational entities or whatever, but this is how it might look. We have to organize in one way or the other something which I call value, collective value creation. In other words, we have to find ways that are not in its concept classical industrial organizations. I'm a professor of organization and management by origin. But we have to find organizational ways between constituents. And some would say, but then you are creating organizations. No, I'm trying to use the word organizing. We have to find organizing entities on different levels where multi-parties have the same problems they can't solve themselves. We need to find ways to integrate, synchronicity. We need to find a kind of umbrella organization to make that happen. And finally, we have to design rules for governance. And that means that individual parties are going to organize on different levels. That's what I think is more or less the future. That is not self-evident, and it goes against all institutional rules we have developed over the last whatever. So the transformation is this, that if we think this is a good idea, then the transformation is, how do we then shape that? Of course, there are examples. Allow me to show you three examples. One is in Denmark, the Isle of Samso, where the people organized a people's energy cooperative and the people became a company. It sounds very, very curious, but they did everything, the people did everything to create a community of participants where they wanted, first of all, to become self-sufficient, yes, and then all of a sudden the island became a business. It started in 1997, so you can see 25 years down the line. They had 3 stages in their development. Utopia, this is difficult. Look at the dates, 2007, 2030. Yes, this is difficult. This is what we understand. And now it becomes gradually common sense. It's a tiny island with 42 nationalities. Gee, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? 42 nationalities. And as I found out, a Dutch mayor. I didn't know in advance. But of course, I'm a little bit proud. And they are famous for potatoes, tourism, and energy. Make the mix. Second example, a Dutch example. I think I can permit myself one Dutch example. It's called Parkstad Limburg. And it's a regional ecology of cooperatives. That sounds very doubly, but these people, and I show the picture in Dutch, of course, I can do so here in Iceland because you don't understand Dutch, I don't understand Icelandic, so that's okay. We're on equal terms then. And as you can see, they organize around different themes. They organize different cooperatives that then are linked together. That's the picture you see here. So it's an ecology of cooperatives. It's a very daring project. It only started in 2022, 3 years ago. It's very young, but then don't forget, the network already has 70 companies joining and different institutes, and I think they are a very, very promising perspective. And of course, there's a third and final example that can't be missing here, and we went not for nothing to Spain last year. I think we can learn a lot from the Mondragon initiative that has been there around, correct me if I'm wrong, 60 years, 50 years, I checked it out, where on the basis of very clear values and organizational rules, a very stable way of organizing has been created. I need to wrap up, which is a pity, but I need to wrap up. I think we've done a fantastic job over the 10 years, but I think we have to move on, and that the key word for the 10 years to come is contributing to transition. In other words, we have to rethink business models to foster transition. We should not become consultants or whatever. We should think about what does it mean that a business model fosters transition, and we should move away from a single focus on organization towards working together to create collective or shared value. I think the way to go is to develop the concept of collective business models, as I have shown. That is not going to be an easy job. And I'm not very much into popular singing, but I like the quote of Celine Dion: if you question me for a simple answer, I'm not going to be easygoing and trying to respond that question. There are no easy answers to that question. But as a researcher, of course, I can dream up 3 fundamental research questions. First of all, could we elaborate the characteristics of these models? Are they what we already have? Is it something new? Where's the knowledge we can? Second, how could we conceptualize these models? How can we build concepts or whatever you want to call it? Is there already a theoretical foundation? I think in part, yes, it is. But it requires interdisciplinary thinking from quite a scale. And third, and absolutely not last, what are the transitional consequences of this thinking? Not only in developing nice academic papers and PhDs, and this is not a cynical comment, but how can we bring this thinking to the fore that people in practice can use this thinking. Because if I've learned anything over the last 10 years is you are not just a bunch of academics, you are practice-oriented academics. And I think then your contribution is to help people, to help institutions to make this happen. And yes, I'm fully aware that this is a big, hairy, audacious transition challenge. So we have work to do for the next 10 years. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the conference.